Hello, I'm Slices. This is Kira with Home Slice Adulting coming to you with another review for Iyanla Fix My Life, Season 7, Episode 5, with LisaRaye McCoy, her mother Katie, and her daughter Kai. First, thank you for clicking on this video. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what your thoughts are on this episode. It was a juicy episode that for whatever reason felt really jam-packed full of good quality entertainment, spiritual healingness. Okay, so this is going to be a long video. I'm saying that outright because I believe it 100%. So I'm going to try to just go off my notes, basically reading my notes so that I don't go into too much detail and get off track, because I don't want this video to be super long. But it did take me longer to get through the episode and pause and be able to type my notes than it normally would. So this is going to be a long video. So let's jump right into it. So we have Lisa Rae, who is an actor, model, and businesswoman. She was formerly married to the Prime Minister of Barbados, I don't know, some country out in the Caribbean. She is now the grandmother to a little girl named Bella, who is Kai's daughter. I'm gonna let y'all know something. I've never been a huge fan of Lisa Rae's work. I think that she's beautiful, but I think that she's very one-dimensional when it comes to her acting career. But it's nothing against her personally. I think she just plays the same character and everything, but whatever. So again, we have Katie, who's Lisa Rae's mom, and Kai, who is Lisa Rae's daughter. All of them are very beautiful women. I will say that off the bat. They are all very beautiful. So typically, they put ages next to the name of the guests, but did y'all notice that none of them had their ages at the end of their names when they pulled up across the screen? Just saying. So anyway, it's the initial meeting, and we just gonna jump right into it, okay? So Iyanla has this theme that's going across the entire episode about the roles that they play in the family. Queen Mother goes to Katie, Queen goes to Lisa Rae, and Princess goes to Kai. And so Katie starts off by saying that she believed that she led her family properly, but that all of that was lost when Lisa Rae went off to LA, which I'm assuming she means when Lisa Rae went off to start her acting career. So Iyanla wants to know about Lisa Rae's role as queen, considering how her mother doesn't feel secure knowing that Lisa Rae is going to take care of her. And Lisa Rae says that she spread herself so thin that she doesn't even have time for herself anymore. And then we find out that everybody, all of them, including Kai's brand new daughter, lives in Lisa Rae's house. All of them. So they explained that it was mostly due to Katie coming to the new baby's birthday party, and she got stuck there due to COVID. So they're all in the house together, and it's a crazy situation. So Lisa Rae says, basically, y'all are in my house. I get to dictate what's going on. And Katie tells Lisa Rae that her attitude is she's acting Hollywood in her house. Look, let me tell you something. If I want to be Hollywood in my house, I get to be Hollywood in my house. It doesn't matter that you are my mom. This is my house, my rules. Remember how, like, when we were younger, it was like, you're under my roof, you're under my rules. Well, I'm your daughter, but this is my house, and these are my rules. So, anyway, Katie explains herself, and she starts to come across as jealous. The way she said it, it sounded like that they both moved to LA to try to make it big. And as Lisa Rae's star rose, her mother felt left behind and neglected. And Lisa Rae is basically saying, what is it that you want from me, really? She doesn't know what her mom's expectations for her are. So Iyanla asks Lisa Rae how she's been grooming Kai as the princess, and Lisa Rae says that Kai is lazy and doesn't rise to the occasion, and Iyanla kind of winces when she hears that, and I did too. I find that these women are very blunt, and I'll talk about that later, but it was harsh, and it's like, I can see where she got it from, because her mom was a little harsh too. So Kai says that she has a lot of growing to do, and then she said that she's trying to attain Lisa Rae's financial status, but through a different career path. And I'm like, I get what she's saying, because, you know, famous children very rarely want to follow in the footsteps of their famous parents. However, she did come across as a little lazy when she said that. And it wasn't, the way I took it was, I want to have my mom's financial success without having to do what my mom did, which to me sounds like sacrifices and hard work and stuff. So I could see where LisaRaye gets the lazy bit from. So anyways, everybody talked about doing and having, and no one spoke about being. That was Iyanla's whole situation, her whole thought process. And so all they did was really talk about money, fame, and power the whole time, and really didn't talk about their relationship with each other, which indicates that they don't really have a good one, right? So Iyanla says that they are all intertwined and that the bulk of the responsibility is going to fall on Katie because she's the head of the line. And Katie's already pushing back. She's saying that she's never been the head of anything. And then things get weird because LisaRaye speaks up and says that Katie didn't feel valued while she was with LisaRaye's father, and that triggered Katie. Katie started attacking LisaRaye when it felt like LisaRaye was only backing up what her mother had to say. Apparently, LisaRaye's father was very controlling, but it looks like Katie is taking out her frustrations with her husband on LisaRaye. So Iyanla says you can't talk to your daughter about her father because the father that LisaRaye knows is not the same man that you chose as your husband. And Katie said to Iyanla, we're going to talk about him later. And they definitely do. So next we have them doing different activities, right? So we got Lisa and Kai doing an activity where they pick out jewels that are secure in their crowns, like sensuality, security, discipline, passion, intellect, and etc. And she takes Katie to a different room, and Katie has to pick out cracks in LisaRaye's and Kai's crowns, like unforgiveness, competition, selfishness, ingratitude, vanity, and more stuff. So Katie said, I'm going to take all of them. And Iyanla urges her to take her time and really think about it. And Katie has like a nasty attitude, okay? She's a little nasty old woman, okay? So these women are a lot more blunt with each other. A lot more blunt. I mean, Kai basically straight up told her mom, no, you're not nurturing. And I think it's okay to be direct because some people do grow up with that, having this direct, not sugarcoating, not having this glamorous language or whatever. They just get straight to the point. But it's different if you're doing it without anything nasty underneath it. Like if you're just direct and that's who you are, that's one thing. But if you're being direct because you are being nasty or have malice towards somebody, that's different. But anyways, Iyanla did a costume change and brings Katie back into the room when they're done with their activities. And Iyanla says that she's going to act as a priest and wise woman. She also mentions that she doesn't want them to play to the cameras, nor does she want to believe that they are there for the cameras. And I wonder if she had like a costume change planned or if it came from her initial meeting with them. And I wonder if she changed clothes so that Katie would see her differently and respect her authority in the process, despite the fact that Iyanla is younger than Katie. So Iyanla says that she needs to create a sacred space, and she begins humming wade in the water, wade in the water, children, wade in the water. Something's gonna God's gonna trouble the water. So Iyanla starts humming that, and then it gets Kai upset, and I'm guessing that Iyanla begins singing that song because God is going to trouble the water and shake some things up in their family dynamic. And Kai, gets upset and says that she doesn't like that they argue so much and that it's exhausting. So Kai talks about the jewel activity and says that she's at a point where she's placing her jewels, or at least trying to glue some in, and that her biggest work area is her heart. And she confesses that her nonchalant attitude is actually a manifestation of the fact that she is numb. So LisaRaye says that she has a soft heart and that she's a sucker for a sad story. She also says that she's compassionate. And if we don't doubt the camera work, and don't doubt the editing, it looks like Katie does not believe that LisaRaye is compassionate. And Iyanla talks about LisaRaye's sign, which is Virgo, but y'all, I do not really put that much stock into horoscopes. I find it more interesting and entertaining. Like, I look at horoscopes the same way I look at like fortune cookies. But whatever. So Katie talks about the cracks in LisaRaye's and Kai's crowns. And so Katie chooses anger for both of them because that's what she feels from them. And Iyanla asks her about anger versus sadness. And Katie basically says that she avoids both of them because she don't want to get into an argument with them. So next, she has ingratitude for LisaRaye's crown. And she feels that LisaRaye expects LisaRaye expects Katie to do stuff for her and doesn't need to feel any thankfulness about it. It's because her mom should do that for her. Basically saying that she thinks LisaRaye is entitled, which is the pot calling the kettle black. But Iyanla has a good point when she says that there are systemic things going on and then there are individual things that are going on as well. So suddenly Katie starts going on a grandma rant. And I don't know if anybody else knows what I'm talking about, but grandma rants happen when grandma gets frustrated and she just start ranting about stuff and it doesn't match the energy of the room. I've had multiple instances where my grandma or an older woman in the family gets something in her mind and you just got to let her get it out. So Katie had a grandma rant, right? And so she thinks that there are lies that are being told and that if the truth doesn't come out, they're going to go home the same way that they came. And Iyanla can't get her to stop yelling. So finally, Iyanla takes LisaRaye and Kai away. And in her voiceover, Iyanla says that Katie is a victim. And I could not agree more. And that she rules with emotional violence. So we got Iyanla and Katie. Iyanla takes special care to make sure that Katie is comfortable and that she has water and that she has her feet up and whatever. And she emphasizes that she doesn't want Katie to feel dishonored or disrespected by her. I guess particularly since she feels so dishonored and disrespected by LisaRaye. But Katie kind of assures her, well, I love you. So, so this person that I just met, but my daughter, I feel so much contempt for her. But anyways, Iyanla wants her to take accountability for her own anger. And so we find out the background story on Katie. She grew up in Mississippi. They was picking cotton. She ran away because she was tired of picking cotton. She was the 7th of 13 children, but felt more responsibility for them than maybe she should have. Every penny that she made went back to her mom. She ran off. She got married and got pregnant with LisaRaye's father. She had no education. She tried to convince us that she stayed with him because she didn't know better and didn't have no education. But whatever, she wasn't telling the whole truth. We find out later what the whole truth is. He had all the money. He abused her. It sounds like LisaRaye's father got killed at this point. We later find out that he was killed by one of his girlfriends. And Katie had to take over the financial situation so that their standard of living stayed the same after he passed away. She feels like LisaRaye didn't appreciate that she stepped up to take care of that and that she never asked Katie how she felt about her father's passing. And Iyanla was like, that's not her place. She was a child who was mourning her father, and she could not be there for you to ask you how you were mourning your husband. She didn't have the capacity, and it's not appropriate, right? It's not appropriate for her to be there for you in that way. You cannot make her responsible for your emotional well-being. It's actually supposed to be the other way around. You figuring out what you can do to be there for her as her father has passed away. So, what else? Again, this was a way for her to play the victim role. So I think Katie is overcorrecting for the fact that she feels like everything that she has ever done has been for somebody else. And now that she is in her old age, she feels like she's entitled to receive, to actually reap what she has sown over the years. And sometimes it doesn't work that way. There are times where you invest in things, where you invest in people that are not worth it. And if you spend your time investing in things and people that are not worth it, sometimes there just is no return, right? You don't get that time back. You don't get a return on your investment. And I think that she has sown with such bitterness that what she's reaping is bitterness on top of that. But let me get down off my soapbox. So, anyways, moving on. Yeah, her husband died because his girlfriend shot him while he was still married to Katie. He was a womanizer, and she knew that the whole time while they were together. And again, she stayed. She said she stayed because she didn't have no education. She didn't know any better. And I feel like that's partially true. But I felt like even before she admitted to it that she was definitely motivated by the money, because everything that she had said up to that point really was a result of money and power and fame. So she wasn't telling the full truth. Anyways, Iyanla talks about unaccountability, and I was like, is unaccountability a word, or is it inaccountability? I don't know. I still don't know. Let me know in the comments if you know. So anyways, she asked, or she was basically telling Katie, this is how this shows up for you. You want Lisa Rae to be grateful to you for the sacrifices you made, but you blame Lisa Rae for being the reason that you had to make the sacrifices in the first place. And Iyanla Van Zant says, as an additional knife in your back, Lisa Rae adores this man that hurt you so much. And Iyanla calls her selfish, entitled, and bitter. And I see the exact same things, but Katie won't even acknowledge them, right? And she's in denial about everything. So Katie basically says that Lisa Rae and Kai are the only people in the world that would see her in that negative light. And I would venture to say that they really are the only people in the world that matter. Because if we believe as a society that the old adage, the proof is in the pudding, is true, Lisa Rae and Kai are the pudding, okay? Because you've been putting everything from yourself and pouring it into these people. And if they are not a reflection of who you are and what you've done and how you've treated them, they're really the only thing that matters, because they're a true reflection of what you've put out into the world. And I mean, the fact that she would even kind of discount them and basically say that these two people are the only people in the world that would call me selfish or bitter, it's like, these are the only people that matter. Just in my opinion, but whatever. So Iyanla asks, why don't you treat them better? And is Katie even willing to hear what they have to say? So we don't really get an answer. We go to a commercial break. We see Iyanla and Kai. So it's Iyanla's question, why are you here? Always ask that question. So Kai basically says she wants to end the cycle. Iyanla calls her hard and cold, and Kai is not accepting of that. She says that for a while she was gone for her family. At age 13, it sounds like she left on her own volition, and doesn't even remember why she left or what was so bad that she left. Then apparently she came back home, and at a certain point her mother's career hit a different trajectory and demanded more of her time. And so Kai started misbehaving and ended up being sent away to a disciplinary school in Iowa. Like, WTF? Iowa? Like, people just be shipping their kids away. So she felt like the things that she had done did not warrant her going to that place, right? Because when she got there, she saw and heard all the other things that these other girls had done. And she was like, I just skipped school and had an attitude, but y'all on meth. I'm not supposed to be here, right? So Kai said that she didn't miss her mom while she was away and doesn't know why she is the way she is. And so Iyanla thinks that Kai is yet another person on her show that's basically numbed themselves to the pain. They don't allow themselves to feel or cry, and that she can't be happy or joyous until she acknowledges what took her happiness away in the first place. So Kai admits to not having a vision for her life, but she says that she's unwilling to fall flat on her face to find it. Kai has this thing going on that I feel like a lot of people in my generation and younger really have going on. And I'm sure that there are people in all generations who are like this. For whatever reason, I feel like it's more prominent now, is that as young people, and there's a lot of reasons for it, there's just really a lack of drive and a lack of vision for what you want to do next, a lack of understanding for how much work goes into getting the things that you want in life. And I feel like social media may be a part of it. Like, we have people on social media who are making millions of dollars doing whatever they want to do, and achieving that sort of fame was not a real thing 20, 30 years ago. Not from just having a cell phone and being able to record and post things on the internet. So that may be another reason why we are a very instant gratification type of people who feel like we can be famous overnight. Because for some people, they do gain fame in what feels like overnight, right? So, I feel like because Kai is spoiled, because she has a mom that is successful and that she doesn't seem to have to really want for anything, that she has been okay with not having a vision for her life. And I don't think that is okay, because I have a vision for my life, but even if I didn't, I would work to try to get one. My understanding is that Kai is probably about my age or older. I just turned 30 a couple of months ago, and it's like, I can't imagine having a child and having to be responsible for somebody and not having a vision for my own life and where I want to go. I think it's just so important to make sure that you are where you're supposed to be when you get ready to raise kids. And the fact that she has been so coddled that she doesn't have to have a vision for her life in this point in time, in this moment, is just like astounding to me. Like, even if I didn't know what I wanted to do, I would figure out how to take some classes, figure out how to read some books, to take up some hobbies, to find something that I liked enough and that I could make money off of. Make something, sell something, something. And so she seems lost, but she doesn't seem eager to figure out how not to be lost. And she's unwilling to fall on her face to get to a point where she's not lost anymore. And I can acknowledge that there was a point in my life, in my early 20s, where I fell so hard on my face, and it took me years to recover from that and get back to a place where I would have wanted to be. And me falling on my face helped me to get the motivation that I have today, where we just bought a house. I'm in a loving, secure relationship. I am about to graduate with my my master's degree in business in a few months. And for me, it's just really, I really don't get it. And I'm not judging her. I think that she has been enabled to stay where she is. But I just feel like if she wants to break the cycle, she has to be a little bit more proactive and try to at least begin to try to find a vision. I can't tell you how many people I know in my family don't give a rat's behind about the work that they do. They couldn't care less. And to be honest with you, the place that I'm working now to take care of myself while I'm in school, I don't have any passion for that. I don't have any passion for children and educating children or private schools. Like, I don't have no passion for that. But I put my head down and work so that I can put a roof over my head, so that I could provide for myself, so that I could save for the things that I want, so that I could take care of my responsibilities, so that I could pay for school, right? So that I can, the things that I'm doing now and the job that is not aligned with my passion is going to help me in the future until I can get to something that I'm passionate about. And people who don't have that in the meantime mindset, and they try to get from point A to point B without going through A1, A2, A3 until they can get to B, are really going to struggle in life because they feel a sense of entitlement. And that's really interesting because we know that Miss Katie has a sense of entitlement herself. So let's move on. So next we see Iyanla and Lisa Rae. So Iyanla thinks that Lisa Rae is controlling as opposed to nurturing and encouraging. She says that she doesn't know how her daughter got broken. And Iyanla says, well, you were broken when you had her. Okay, when broken women have children, the children are broken too. That's just how things work. You kind of inherit it. So Lisa Rae says that her daughter is not mature and that she gives her daughter a pass because she knows she wasn't mature at that age either. She talks about how she was a daddy's girl and that she did not have to have a vision for herself because her dad had one for her. And when he got killed, that vision went away. So, it sounds like Lisa Rae believes that her mother went on a power trip after her husband died because now that she had control over the money and the business, she made Lisa Rae pay for being a daddy's girl and kind of exacted some revenge on Lisa Rae. So instead of being spoiled now, she was basically on her own, and then she ended up getting pregnant with Kai. So now we start talking about disciplinary school. And Lisa Rae says that Kai was disrespectful and that she was not going to come home to a house where she paid bills and be unhappy. And it's clear that she associates money with power and that she used power to get rid of her, or she used that power to get rid of her problem, which in that instance was Kai. So Iyanla calls Lisa Rae controlling and basically says that at this point in time, your daughter who has a daughter who is at least 30 years old, it's not your place to tell her what to do with her life. And Lisa Rae pulls the everlasting, if she lived in my house, she lived by my rules card. And Iyanla is like, she's out here having babies. What is she doing in your house? And Lisa Rae says it's because she ain't grown. And again, I feel like if you raised a person who has not moved out of your house, now that they are raising a person, that falls back into your lap. And because you haven't taught your daughter to be independent, or Iyanla believes that Lisa Rae has stripped Kai's voice away from her and that Kai is so afraid of making a mistake that she can't even begin to try to find a vision for herself, or have any vision for herself. And to me, it sounds like Lisa Rae is doing to Kai what her dad did to her, dictating whatever type of vision she had or how her life should go, considering that she has the money, right? So I believe that Lisa Rae, in a way, is like her mother. Lisa Rae's mother basically punishes Lisa Rae for having to make the sacrifices that she made to her. Lisa Rae didn't raise her daughter to be independent and is now mad that she has to take care of the daughter that she didn't raise to be independent. So yeah. So anyway, Iyanla brings up that LisaRaye and Katie were in competition for her father's love and affection, and it's just one other thing that Iyanla brings up that LisaRaye is not really able to fully accept. And LisaRaye says, when I look at my mom, Katie, I see what I don't want to be. And Iyanla says, when you look at your mom, you should see who you are right now. Iyanla points out that all of them are in denial about everything that Iyanla says to them, and it's absolutely true. They are always shaking their head. They are always in denial, and I guess that's a telltale sign that they are not ready to fully buy into this process, right? So anyways, Iyanla says that because of how LisaRaye won't accept how similar she is to Katie, that's what's causing the issue with Kai. And Iyanla says, I'm really only working with one person. And she's like, it took me 5 hours to realize that you all are really the same person, which I think was a big realization for Iyanla. So now we see Iyanla is chatting with all of them. It's the next day. They're at tea or something, or brunch, whatever. So Katie said that she came to realize that a lot of the issues stem from her and that she doesn't know herself. And I think that was a big realization. As ornery as Katie is, I will say that she had some semblance of willingness to participate in the process. So it was good that she at least got that from this process. So now comes the part where Kiera plays a jigsaw puzzle solver because of the editing and how jam-packed all of this stuff was. I'm certain that they had enough material to make this a two-parter, which I think I would have enjoyed. But for whatever reason, it was like everything was just jam-packed in there. So some of the editing on this particular part of the show didn't make sense to me. So here is my attempt at piecing together all the stuff. So Iyanla asked LisaRaye, you've had a chance to sleep on it. What are your realizations about what you know about this process or your upbringing or whatever? So LisaRaye speaks up and says that she knows how much her father loved her mother. That's what I think she was saying. And Iyanla interrupts her by calling LisaRaye's father manipulative and dishonest, and says that he used Katie to make himself look like a loving husband and father when he really was just a womanizer with a lot of money. LisaRaye kind of felt a little taken back by that. I think she might have been offended and just didn't want to say anything. But it's not like Iyanla wasn't saying nothing that wasn't true, at least from the stories that we had heard about him. So Iyanla says that LisaRaye has to tell the truth about that aspect of who her father was so that she can take off the rose-colored glasses that she's had on. Because as long as Katie and LisaRaye are holding on to their separate images of who this person was, they're always going to clash, because Katie views him as the devil and LisaRaye views him as an angel, and they are never going to agree about that, because who he was as a husband, according to Iyanla, is not the same person that he was as a father. And they have to be honest about who he was as a whole person to get past the nastiness that they have between each other. And we'll talk about that more. But Iyanla also says that his manipulation kept them from knowing who they really were as women. And I can really see that, especially with LisaRaye. So, Iyanla says they know how to fight, but they don't know how to own their stuff. And so she gets a renewed commitment from them to tell the whole radical truth, and basically says y'all have to let go of y'all stories. And I really believe that, because in our minds, we fill in details and make up stories, and it really can affect how we feel about a situation based on how we tell those stories. So She did something that I thought was actually a really good exercise and actually really useful, and that I don't think I had ever seen her do on the show before. She basically gives them a yes card and a no card. She asks them questions, and all they can do is answer with that card. And it stops them from telling a story or creating an explanation or creating an excuse behind the question. So I thought that this was like a wonderful exercise, and I thought that they all participated wonderfully. And I think that it may have even taken off the pressure that somebody feels about having to explain themselves. So I really liked that they did this exercise, and I thought that it was wonderful. So moving on. So she gets out the cards, and they can only respond with the cards. And so through this exercise, we find out that Kai was hurt by her mother sending her away to that disciplinary school, and that she never talked about how that hurt her with her mom. We find out that Katie took LisaRaye around to her husband's girlfriends, and Katie was not aware that that was a form of emotional manipulation. I think that Katie might have been trying to get LisaRaye to see her father as a womanizer and that he was not a good man. And again, LisaRaye wasn't really falling for it. I think in addition to being manipulated by her father, that she also didn't like her mother. So whatever her mother had to say about her father, she really wasn't absorbing it or taking it in, even with this activity or whatever. So LisaRaye does not believe, but has said that if Katie didn't put her father out, that he'd still be alive. LisaRaye also said that she told her mother that she wished her mom died instead of her dad, and that upset them both. But Katie spoke up first. And so Katie says that, LisaRaye knew her dad was a hoe, but she moved with him and his girlfriend, and she had no right to do that. And LisaRaye said, what am I supposed to do about it now? Like, this is old news. What do you want me to do? Do you want me to buy you? And LisaRaye's mom says, you don't have enough money to buy me. Okay. So, full out argument. So after the commercial break, we are in full argument mode, and LisaRaye says Katie brings bad energy to the house, and finally they stop arguing, and Iyanla says, you all have a problem with boundaries, okay? Katie, you can't make LisaRaye responsible for who your husband was as a husband. LisaRaye, you can't make Katie wrong about what she experienced as your father's wife. What sucks is that this man is dead and has pitted them against each other so badly that they are still dealing with the repercussions to this day and are about to pass it down to the fourth generation of women in this family. It's disgusting. It is disgusting. And I don't know who LisaRaye's father was, and I don't want to speak ill of the dead, but if this is the fruit of who he was, it couldn't have been that good. And I think this is a testament to the fact that money is the root of all evil. Because the reason we find out, for real, when it comes down to the yeses or the nos, one of the reasons that Katie stayed was for the money. And she ended up selling her soul and selling a good relationship with her daughter, her granddaughter, and possibly her great-granddaughter. That's just what I gleaned from this. So, anyways, Iyanla really does get to the nitty-gritty of stuff. She is good at this, and it saddens me that she would not be doing this show no more after this season. It really saddens me because she's so good at it. But Katie says that it was like LisaRaye was another one of her husband's mistresses, and that, for whatever reason, really broke LisaRaye down. And Iyanla basically says to LisaRaye, are you willing to consider that your father did that by design? that he designed you to be in competition with your mother and manipulated you all into competing against each other. And LisaRaye, acknowledged that she could conceive that. And I really can't even think of a reason for that. I really can't even think of a reason why somebody would pit their own daughter against their wife, besides just to be manipulative and mean. That's just yucky to me. Anyways, Iyanla finally got Katie to confess that she stuck around for the money and that it was a tool of manipulation. And now LisaRaye uses that same tool on Kai, and Kai participates in it. So instead of getting her own money, she just puts up with her mom's crap because she wants what her mom has without having to work for it. So Iyanla said something interesting. She says, when we try to live our lives like men, we sell ourselves. I wish we would have heard her elaborate on that. I'm curious as to what she really means by that. But anyways, Iyanla Vanzant does not play. She is not here just for TV. She is really getting to the bottom of stuff. So, speaking of getting to the bottom of stuff, we come to the final portion of the show where she sits down with everyone and she says that it was her intention for these women to sit on the throne, I guess one at a time, and to wear the crown and to sit in their womanliness and to sit on the throne and to be the queen mother and the queen and the princess. And Iyanla says, I can't even do it because you all were not open to this process. The most open that they were to the process was the point where they couldn't talk and they could only hold up cards. They were reluctant to take the medicine that Iyanla was offering them and that they were there to get. And Iyanla feels like when y'all leave here, or when they leave here, the only way y'all are going to change is if you fall back into your old ways. And because you all have experienced what you experience here, it's going to hurt so bad that y'all have no choice but to change. And she doesn't think that they're willing right now. And Iyanla is one of the smartest, most perceptive women out here. Like, I think that she is right about them. And I think that she is willing to be wrong, but I don't think she is at this point. I do think that they have been very resistant and reluctant. And part of that shows up again. She says that instead of crowning you all, I'm going to give you all some tools about how to communicate. And so they each talk about what they took away from the process or whatever. And so LisaRaye apologizes to her daughter for sending her to that disciplinary school, and she begins talking to her mother, and Katie won't even look at her. And Iyanla's like, okay, Katie, like, you're just exhibiting bad behavior here. Why won't you even look at your daughter? And she's like, oh, I'm just thinking about everything. And so Iyanla's like, oh, she's just processing. And Katie is an old dog that won't learn new tricks. And that's, at least for now, like over the course of them filming this was probably 2 or 3 days. Somebody that old, that set in their ways, that mad, is not going to change their ways overnight. And so Iyanla says that even considering, she did well. And overall, I agree, because she was somewhat open to the process and somewhat willing to participate. So yeah, my hope was that they would at least come out of it and try to do better. But according to the end of show updates, LisaRaye asked for like a 6-month check-in. And I feel like there was a light in LisaRaye's eyes. And LisaRaye, I think for the first time in a while, I think that she felt hopeful about things getting better. And that she was willing to at least work on herself. And that's why she wanted a follow-up with Iyanla. Iyanla seemed a little reluctant at first, in my eyes, or in my estimation, but in the show updates, we see that they're still having issues communicating. Again, Iyanla apparently was not off base. Kai is committed to moving out in 1 year. We'll see if that happens. And Iyanla is going to do some more work with LisaRaye. So hopefully, sometimes when you have issues in your family, you can try to work through those issues, or you can work on yourself and let your family work on them as well. And sometimes it takes them seeing you change in order for them to change themselves. But it's most important that you work on you so that you stop creating excuses for how people react and respond to you. So I'm, hoping and praying that for all of their sakes that they get it together. And what's really a shame is such beautiful women having so many problems. Like, y'all, the most beautiful women in the world be having a hard time with relationships, romantic and otherwise. So it's crazy. But anyways, those were my thoughts. Does anybody else think LisaRaye looks a lot like Raven-Symoné? Like, how are they not related? Anyways, thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. If you have waited here this long, thank you so much. This has been a long review, but this was juicy. Okay, it was very juicy. We learned a lot of stuff about their family. And most of all, we learned a lot about what having a domineering, overpowering, manipulative person with money in your family can do to you, and how the impacts of that can be lasting even after they're dead and gone. So anyways, thanks again for watching. Don't forget to share this with somebody who you think will enjoy it. And until next time, peace out, home slices.